I've been at the Abbey about 4 years now, and quite early on when I started here, we were approached by Northampton Town of Sanctuary, led by one of the local councillors, who asked if they could use the walled garden for a picnic for some refugees and migrants and just put on a little event for them. When they learnt about that there was some refugee history actually in the families that had lived at the Abbey, they were really astounded by that, and they felt that that actually needed to be more shared. But then they came with a much clearer ask of actually how could we influence people living in Northampton now to understand that refugees have always been part of British society, and for our traditional visitor to have some exposure to that. So when I saw that AIM had this funding pot, I thought, oh, this actually could work quite well. So I went to Northampton Town of Sanctuary and asked if they would be willing to partner with us on putting together an exhibition update. And yeah, it just went from there. In our original funding application, we'd got costings from a company who specialised in audiovisual interpretation, and that was our intention, was to work with them. By the time we got the funding came to run the project, they had actually mothballed. And so we had the funding and we knew what we wanted to achieve, but we weren't then sure what to do. We had been having conversations with the university's film department about doing a project together, so I started off going to them and saying, we need this, do you think this is something that the university could deliver within our budget? And they said yes. And then we went to our on-site partner, Toru, and asked them if they could deliver the kind of more technical side, so installing the actual kit and doing the coding within our budget. And they were really interested in doing that too, because it was new kind of work to them that they were interested in growing into the heritage industry. And then Northampton College, again, it was when we had all this audiovisual equipment that we needed to install, and we weren't sure how to do it. And they started by coming in and seeing whether our walls could take the weight and sort of the technicalities of it. And then they saw it through to the end. The thing that worked with our project was that at each organisation we had one clear contact. So although we had 4 partners, we had one contact. So for me managing it, it actually wasn't that hard, because I wasn't managing all of the different students from the college or the university. I was working with one academic at both organisations. We had sort of other partners that helped us source those like little in-between bits. So where we needed costume or we needed the male actor, Northampton Film Festival were really helpful in quickly finding us contacts for that. I don't know that I'd necessarily do anything differently, but I think what this has taught me is that it's okay, like that utter panic that can build when you've taken on the responsibility of funding. You're a small organisation, you've promised things to partners, and then suddenly you think, I'm not going to be able to deliver this. And actually, if you just sort of take a moment and look at who are all the people in your community that could support you, it probably wouldn't have occurred to me to ask the university if they could deliver this scale of project. I think I would have assumed that the students weren't capable of delivering it. But actually, because my colleague was already speaking to the university about how they could work with us, he suggested just go and have a chat. I'm so glad we took that risk, because it's delivered something fantastic. And actually, because they are under a commercial cost, we got 2. When we had originally planned to only have 1 living portrait, we got 2 living portraits.
There were so many technical challenges. So basically we had to create something that worked on a kind of one machine that powers 2 TVs that sort of can sense movement in a room, that the way the sensors work and the way the light comes through. And we even found out that there was a boiler in the room underneath, which then for some reason tripped the infrared sensor. We had to do all of that on a computer that didn't have a stable internet connection. So it's very different to what we're normally working with, which is kind of cloud-based stuff that is very much always connected to the internet. There were loads of challenges, but our team loved it.
The reaction to living portraits has been really interesting, because I think there was some concern from our volunteers. This project is based on research done by our volunteers during COVID. They unlocked these new stories that we wanted to share alongside the information that Northampton Town Sanctuary wanted us to share. So they had a real sense of ownership of those stories, and that they be shared with the public in a way that they felt comfortable with. But I think they're really pleased, and they totally get why we pursued it, and visitors are really intrigued by them and engaging with stories that if it had just been in written form they wouldn't have. For us as an organisation, I think the benefits of being part of New Stories, New Audiences is huge. In terms of kind of sharing our stories and looking after our collection, it's been fantastic, and I'm not really sure how we would have achieved that without this funding. For me personally, I think I've developed so much learning and insight. I've developed a network of other sites that are kind of trying to do interesting things. And so I've really enjoyed the residentials and getting together with people and sort of sharing challenges and hearing how other people deal with them, because we're all generally dealing with the same challenges, even if our projects are different and our audiences that we're targeting and our partners are different. I think next steps are sharing more stories of people's migration experiences from today, people from Northampton. That's something that we didn't manage to quite include in the exhibition as fully as we wanted to. In terms of our wider partners, the university are already pitching ideas to us. Toru are also pitching ideas of things that they could work with us on. It's true with any oral history. When you do an oral history interview with someone, you've asked them to give you tons of personal information about themselves. Just making sure that you respect the people who you're asking to share the stories. It feels quite transactional sometimes. And so I think speaking to as many other organisations, maybe national organisations, about how best to respect people's experiences, their lived experiences, is probably my main bit of advice. Because I think we were only thinking locally, and we probably could have got better advice nationally.